Hi, I'm Allison Nelson.
And I'm Janae Giroux.
And we did the Georgia Dolphin Ecology program this summer.
So we're presenting together because we did the exact same internship, so we were allowed to do that. So the Georgia Dolphin Ecology program was formed in 2004 by Dr. Dan Odell and Dr. John Shackey. The purpose, and this is a quote from their research proposal, was a long-term study of the ecology and behavior of the Atlantic bottlenose dolphins, Tursiops truncatus, and the relatively undeveloped barrier islands and estuarine system of the central Georgia coast. So in 2008, they got enough funding to complete regular surveys, which occur every other weekend throughout the year. And they've also received funding or logistical support from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the St. Catharines Island Foundation, and the Georgia Aquarium. And in 2015, as of right now, they are receiving funding from the Georgia Aquarium. And both of those pictures were ones that I took on surveys. So our daily tasks and assignment. Every other weekend, like I said, we would go on surveys. We would drive down to St. Catharines Island on a Friday morning, and we would return back to Athens on a Sunday evening-ish. We would survey the water in and around Sapelo Sound and St. Catharines Sound, which included a lot of the rivers and creeks down there. What we would do while we were on the boat was search for dolphin dorsal fins on the surface of the water. When we spotted one, we would call it out, and then we would get the camera out and attempt to capture pictures of the dolphin dorsal fin, and we would record a bunch of data on our log sheet. So this is an example of a log sheet that we did on a survey. You put basic information at the top, and then you fill out everything from the date, time, the location of the sighting, the number of animals seen there, including the number of calves, the photo frame count, the behavior of the animal, whether it be traveling, feeding, whatever they're doing. And then you do additional notes on the side. So anything important, like some animals we couldn't reach because the water was too shallow, so we'd say couldn't get photos of animal, etc.
Another one of our daily tasks included photo matching. So the overall goal of our research is we're going out there and we're trying to get pictures of individual dolphins because dolphin dorsal fin tissue does not regenerate. So every time they get bit or scratched or caught in something and it gives them a scar, they're never going to grow that back. So every dolphin is individual. So when we take these photos, we can say this photo is, and they all have a number. Sometimes they have a name like Thelma or Red Tag. You'll learn about a little bit later. And so once we have these photos, the data processing is what takes the longest. So what we do is photo matching. So we start by cropping the photos so that they're smaller, and then we have to determine which photos are of the same dolphin. So you sit at a computer and you flip through and you say, this is not the same, this is not the same. Oh, look, it's the same. And then you write it down. And so none of these dolphins are the same, but if they were, we have a list and we say, okay, in this sighting, all 5 of these dolphins were the same. Then the tricky part comes, and John, or Dr. Shackey, our advisor, he sits and he does a cross-survey matching. So he looks at all the data from all the surveys we've done and matches individual dolphins. Once that's completed, we can put it into FinBase, which is our huge database, and all those photos are connected to the GPS data, the behavior data, and that way any researcher who wants to use this data to maybe draw some conclusions can do that. Our main objectives included providing Dr. Shackey with assistance. So he works fully with volunteers up until this summer. We were his first interns, and so he's usually the only person on the boat that's there every week. And so by having us this summer as a reliable source, he was able to know he would go on every survey. He wouldn't be tethered to whether or not a volunteer could go. We were also going to increase the quality of the photos in the database. So me and Janae both had some photo experience, and so his hope was that when we got on the water, we would take better pictures because it's very hard to take pictures of dolphins in the water. They're not at the surface, but maybe 10% of the time, and they don't necessarily want their pictures taken, so it's tricky. So we also worked on the photo matching to catch him up. So when we started photo matching this summer, we were still working on pictures from 2013, and we are now caught all the way up to where we are currently in 2015. So we also are both using this data for our senior theses. So we're going to begin to process this data and draw some conclusions on these dolphins.
So how Warnell has helped us. The most valuable classes we thought we took here were field measurements and wildlife techniques. Measurements gave us a lot of general knowledge on how to use maps and what consisted of a map, and we also learned how to use a GPS unit, which was very valuable working with the dolphins. And we also learned efficient methods for recording field data, which helped us with our logs. In wildlife techniques, we learned different sampling methods, which we thought was helpful. One area where we thought we could improve possibly, Warnell prepared us a lot for terrestrial mammals, but we thought that they could use additional curriculum involving marine mammals. We took a Maymester class with Odom, but it was primarily ecology based, and we think it would be valuable to have additional knowledge on sampling methods or the anatomy of marine mammals in Warnell.
Our contribution, there used to be a picture here, I'm sorry guys. Our contribution, so basically we contributed a season's worth of data to FinBase, and so that means a whole summer's worth of dolphins, and that's primary calving season for them, so that's really important data. Also, we're going to continue to contribute with our senior theses. She will be working on calving grounds and places where they raise the young, and I'm going to be working on home range and site fidelity. So hopefully we'll get to find out what these dolphins are actually doing down there and where they like to be, especially with the dredging going on in Savannah. This is going to be really important. So also, one example of how we contributed, the picture that I had was of a special dolphin to us. We call her red tag. So a couple weeks ago when we were out on a survey, we saw her in the water and she had a red tag on her dorsal fin, which was kind of unusual. We don't usually see any tags out there. And so we were curious. We took some pictures, and Dr. Shackey looked into it and found out that she actually had stranded on St. Catherine's Island at the beginning of the summer. And they had gone and saved her and put her back in the water, and they believed she was pregnant. And so that's really interesting for us because now we get to see the results of saving a stranding, and she seemed to be behaving fine. She was interacting with other dolphins. She doesn't have a calf yet, so we're unsure if she actually was pregnant or if she's still going to give birth to that calf, so we're interested to see. And we also looked back into our data going all the way back, and she's actually a dolphin that we take a lot of pictures of. So we see her regularly. So it's kind of like a good news story that strandings happen, but we can save the dolphins. So, any questions?